All right, we are officially live and we have an extremely huge legend of a guest today, Mr. Ray Higdon. Honestly, Ray, I would consider you someone who is famous. That's what an impact in the world you have made. So it's really an honor to have you here and we're going to kind of interview. I'm going to kind of ask you some questions, but I thought was really weird was that I went to my closet. I went to go grab a shirt, and I grabbed a shirt, and it's the name Faith Over Fear. And
That's wow.
I've had this shirt from Amazon literally for probably 2 years. So I was like, I'm not even going to say anything. I have to bring this up, and here I am because I actually met. I've been in the industry for 5 years, and I met Ray probably about 3.5, almost going 4 years in. And I was like, where has he been all of my life? He was doing a free weekly mastermind. Like you got to be in this group. He added so much value. I remember plugging into it with my AirPods in and Bella sleeping next to me. And you cracked some of the funniest jokes about, things that us network marketers do and say to ourselves that I actually would wake my daughter up because I chuckle out loud. So you've made a huge impact in my life. You were the first person to ever invite me to step on a stage and to share my story. And that was such an honor at the same time, sweatiest palms. And I have just grown and taken off like a rocket ship since I have met you. So I can't thank you or pay it forward to you enough. But I would love for you, Ray, your story, when I heard it was so inspiring,
Hmm.
kind of just share that with everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me and congrats on your success. Just awesome. Just super, incredible. So I mean, I'm someone that I worked my way up in the corporate world and I realized that that's not what I wanted to be when I grew up. And that's nothing against, jobs or anything. If you love your job, then awesome, right? Like, cool. I didn't, and I wanted to have more freedom. And so I didn't jump into network marketing right away. I actually jumped into real estate and did that for a few years and was actually doing, pretty good, feeling pretty good about myself. And then the market crashed and I got wiped out. And so I went through, personal foreclosure, went through depression, divorce, just got beat up really bad and didn't know what I was going to do because everyone was affected by the real estate market, in the 2008, 2009 crash. And my credit shot, I'm out of money, no one's hiring, not sure what to do. And a good friend of mine, Chris, out of Cape Coral, Florida, invited me to check out a thing he's working on, which I knew what that meant. And I actually didn't want to do network marketing, but I came out of desperation. And so I decided, you know what? I'm gonna make this thing work. So I took one of the remaining credit cards that would still hadn't realized I'm not paying them and charged it, jumped on that thing and did the work. And, long story short, I became the number one income earner of that company, made millions with that company. And, in 2016 decided to sell my position, retire from actively building and focus on coaching and training as I have a real passion for that. And that's what I've been doing. And we started really tracking the stats of our students in 2018. And so in the last 5 years, we've helped network marketers bring in over 300,000 new customers, 71,000 new reps, and achieve 14,000 rank advances. And so we're excited. We got an upcoming event. We ran an event every year for 10 years now. This is the 10th year. And it's called Faith Over Fear, like your shirt. And we're really excited about it.
Yes, and you guys, in the comment section, there will be a link with more details about it. I will tell you that I was in Ray's mastermind and I was like all in with this business. I was like, Ray, I said no to network marketing for 5 years. Hard no. Like this was something I'd absolutely never do in my entire life of living. And I became desperate. I was a single mom. I had $60,000 in debt. I was already cleaning houses. I was already waitressing. I was already working full time as an HR specialist. And I had my cosmetology license and I was doing hair when my daughter was sleeping. So I became desperate. Unless I planned to work after hours, which was something that I didn't do. And I was already so resentful about missing out on my child's life and not even being around that I became open to taking a look. And like Ray, I was like, okay, like someone like Ray gave me the belief that like I can do this then. Like you don't have to have the skill set. And Ray will go into a lot of this because he is super inspiring and faith over fear. And when I did his mastermind, I was sitting there and I knew the second I listened to it, he had this event and something just in my stomach that kind of like you're driving and a cop car comes behind you and you see lights and you're just like, oh, and I had that feeling. And I had just came across a 7-day mastermind with him, but I already saw this shift and I felt this tug on my heart. And I can't tell you enough that I didn't even think money, time. I was like, I'm going, like, this is it. And then all of a sudden, like I was in the mastermind and I won a competition for something and reached out to the most people I've ever reached out to before. And there was this shift in myself. And then go figure, I won a competition. I got to have a section to speak on the stage. So when I tell you that at these events, not just plugging in through a phone, that things change, a shift in everything to do with you personally, not just financially, it's really, really incredible. And Ray, your lineup, I saw some of the speakers. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, where do you start? I mean, there's so many rock stars. We have, of course, Justin Prince. We have, Bryn Lang. We have John and Nadia Melton. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But there's, I'll give you a couple you may not know that I think are really powerful. Cap Chatfield. Most of you aren't going to know that name, but he went from 5,000 followers to 1.5 million followers in 6 months. And he actually did it by leaning into his faith, believe it or not. He now has a couple movies on Amazon. It's pretty awesome. And I've watched the one. It's actually amazing. It's called Acts. And we also have a guy named Pastor Baker out of Columbus, Ohio. He did an 18-part series with his congregation and helped over 25% of his congregation become debt-free. Now, I've never met a sales leader that did that of any size of team anywhere. But we have him speaking, and he's going to be talking about faith and finances, God and wealth, and it's going to be extremely, extremely powerful. We're really excited about that. We have, just total legends, Sarah Robbins, Donna Johnson. We have Stormy Wellington, and we have just an incredible lineup. I can't name them all because there's quite a few. The keynote speaker is someone that I've actually spent the last 4 days with, and that's John C. Maxwell. For those that don't know, John is the #1 authority, undisputed in the world on leadership. He's been training leadership and coaching leadership for 55 years, written 88 books. He's sold 34 million copies of his books. He's done 13,000 presentations. It's crazy. And he's going to be speaking up to 4 hours on day 3. And let me tell you, I've dropped a pretty good amount of money on mentoring. I gave Grant Cardone $100,000 for 6 hours of his time. I've spent some pretty serious coin on mentoring and coaching, and spending time with John. I really just think he has some of the most powerful perspectives I've ever seen, and so he's going to really help us. And according to him, he's very much constantly in front of politicians and world leaders. He said he's never seen a more troubling time for the business owner than right now. And he's never seen such few and poor examples of leadership. And so I really feel that the two things that are most needed right now, if you want to build a business, are faith and leadership. And faith is a way of being. It's not a mindset. It's a way of being. It's let me step out into the hopes unseen versus stay stuck in my current circumstances. Let me step out into what the media isn't reporting, but actually step into my greatness, my future version of myself, then stay in my circumstances and rely only on my own eyeballs. And so I think with faith and leadership, you have a real shot of building a serious business right now. Without those things, it's going to be very, very difficult. And so we're excited. We're in Orlando here in a few weeks. And you may or may not know this, but we actually today opened the virtual option. And so if you want to watch from home, you can. I would encourage you to be unreasonable and try to get in the room and get in the room because the atmosphere is going to be, just game changing. And, for you to transform your life, you usually got to transform your environment, and we would love to see you. But if you absolutely can't make that happen, we understand, and we do have a virtual option.
Yeah, Ray, you know that mindset part that you said with the gentleman from Ohio that's going to be speaking.
Yeah.
Um, it's that's when I really saw a shift when I was a part of your mastermind was I even though I had that feeling and even though I wanted to have COVID and not show up at Rank Makers, that's what it used to be called. Like you guys, some of my biggest growth came from there. And I don't even want you to sit here and think that I look like I was so timid that I like messaged Ray at noon thinking that I was like going to forget doing this. Like I still have fears. Ray intimidates me. He's a rock star. Speaking on stage is something, but going on a plane and staying in a hotel room. But guess what? That is when you really, really start to learn who you are
Yeah.
inside and what your freaking purpose is. Because
Amen.
I realized my purpose was my past paradigm from my childhood and all the things that I've been told. But when
Yeah.
I took a pen to paper and in a quiet place and did these kind of things, I really realized what my purpose was. And I truly feel deep down inside our purposes might be different, but every single one of us has something like that in us. So if you are nervous, I would think you were weird if you aren't. So if
Right.
you're uncomfortable booking it, just do it anyways. Do what Ray did, his last credit card, because I am telling you, and Ray, I want you to touch on this. Some of the biggest rock stars in the entire world when it comes to leaders are created at these type of events. And it's nothing comparable than tuning into the virtual one. Because the one time you need to hear something a leader saying, the doorbell is going to freaking ring and
Right.
you're going to miss it. And that could have been the shift that you needed to take you and your business from average into rocket ship savage.
Yeah. Ooh, rocket ship savage. Woo. Whoo. One interesting thing is, when John Maxwell first started writing leadership books, the belief was you either born a leader or you weren't a leader. Like if you look at, the past writings of Peter Drucker and so many other business, brilliant people, they thought you're either a leader or you're not. And John Maxwell was the thing about this. It's so kind of hard. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, but he was the first person to say you could develop leadership. You could actually learn how to be a good leader. And that's what he's been doing for, all these years. And so it's just so powerful. And yeah, and I realize, listen, you may be in a situation you absolutely can't get there. Great. Get the virtual. But if it's painful, like, that's really inconvenient, you stepping into your inconvenience, you stepping into your uncomfortableness, that is going to really pay off for you. It has for me over the years when I was broke, when I was struggling, when I was lost. It did for me, and I know it will for you too. Being in the room, and you just don't know. Some of your biggest takeaways come outside of the room. You ain't gonna get that virtually, right? Some of my biggest takeaways have been standing in line for coffee, or at the lunch table, or afterwards at the bar, right? When all of a sudden you hear a strategy that wasn't discussed on stage, and you're like, wait a minute, that's really smart. And so you just, you want to put yourself in the position to have to have an interaction, right? You want to put yourself in a position to have an interaction. Obviously you can't do that, right? If you're virtual, but you will get some good value if that's your only option. Better than nothing for sure. But if you can be unreasonable, I would definitely say get your butt there.
Oh yeah, and I'm getting my butt there, and I'm not missing Jessica's birthday party in any way,
Yeah,
shape, or form. And I cannot wait to have my lunch with John Maxwell.
there you
So
go.
I'll be there. So if you are attending, in the comment section, guys, let us know. And that link again is below for all the information that you need. And make sure you say hi to me if you are there. And it's super, super, super fun. But Ray, going back into more of the shift with how much I respect you for how much you really do pour into yourself. I don't think people realize when they look at Ray, you have these huge events, how much led up to this. I remember literally being a student in the first time I ever heard you speak in your mastermind, and you had mentioned that you had been planning the Rank Makers, now Faith Over Fear event for the past 12 months, like leading up to the event. Like you're literally like, now I'm going through my mind what I'm doing in the next one. And I was just like, holy crap. Like that was so inspiring to me that like right now you're probably focusing on 2025 or whatever year is coming, like 2024. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I found that really inspiring because something that has led me into one of my biggest triumphs is to continuously pour into myself, even when I set the goal and I don't reach it. So when I
Mm,
set the goal and I don't reach it, then all of a sudden I'm reading a personal development book, pouring into myself, like you say, keep going, just keep going. And then
yeah.
all of a sudden I hear about how your subconscious and your conscious mind, you might believe that consciously you can make more money, but really you're not making more money. But if you continue with your conscious mind, and I might be vice versaing them to believe it to be true, all of a sudden all this stuff is going to start pouring towards you to make that become true. But people quit before that happens. So
Right.
that's something that you taught me. And I want you to really help the person who's out there who right now is saying, well, I don't even know if this is for me anymore. I don't even know if I need to go
Sure.
to an event. Like, I've been trying, I can't even get one person to sign up with me. Well, first and foremost, you need some Ray Higdon in your life because Ray, tell him what it's all about.
Yeah. So, I mean, most people use what should be their why to as their why not to, right? So they'll say, I can't even sign up anybody, which is why they should go to the event, but they'll use that as why they won't. I'm not making much money. Well, that's why you should go. You know, when do you hire a tutor? When you have an A plus, right? When you're a rock star? No, you go get help when you need help. And so I think that's very important. Now, some people will say, well, I'm already motivated enough. Well, I mean, yes, our events are motivating, but if you're already motivated enough, then check your results instead of your energy level and see, do you like that? Most people that I say that they're already motivated enough, I say the results speak otherwise. A lot of times, just being fired up doesn't compensate for lack of consistency or lack of skill set. You need to improve both of those things, and we do cover that at the event. And so everyone does mental rehearsal in some way, shape, or form. And mental rehearsal, you're either powerfully mentally rehearsing being the person you wish to be, or you're not powerfully rehearsing all the things you don't want to happen and all the things that you're noticing. And so most people stay stuck because they're in a state of fear, right? That's a state of being. So they see where they are as this is the best I can do, and this is what it is, and I'm just reporting what is, and telling it like it is keeps it like it is. Justifying where you are keeps you where you are. And so you have to step out into having faith. Faith is the hopes unseen. Seeing yourself at a different level, seeing yourself as the type of person that would invest in themselves, because every champion I know did. And so, and just take a look at what don't you like in your life, and do you want to transform that? Hard to do unless you have new input, because our input, it impacts our thoughts, which impact our emotions, which impacts our state of being and how we show up. And so if you want to change all that, give some new input, and most desirably, get in a different environment, and we'd love to see you.
Yes, and Ray, you have to share the ballerina dancing example because that's what always sticks with me when I come across something that I think that I'm not good at. So share that, like on just to kind of ravel that in with what you just said, because that's quite
Okay,
inspiring.
not ballerina. I was never a ballerina, just to clarify. But for our 10-year anniversary, I bought ballroom dance lessons for my wife and I. And when I first started going, I really, really sucked. And I know this isn't a mindset thing. I really sucked. Like, they asked me, Ray, do you hear the rhythm? It goes doom da da doom, right? It's a downbeat. I'm like, ooh, whoa. And and at one point they even asked me, Ray, were you in an accident? And I got a little insulted. I'm like, do they think I have a brain injury or something? Like, am I that bad? And they thought maybe I was in some kind of car accident and I injured my hips, because they didn't think my hips moved, because I didn't know what they meant. So they'd say, move your hips, and I would move my leg, right? I didn't know how to, do this little thing. And then the kicker was 4 months in of doing 2 classes a week every week, even when I didn't want to. There was a new student lacing up his shoes, kind of watching us. And when Jess and I finished, my wife, he rushes over to both of us and in front of my wife says, oh my God, I'm so glad I came in early. I feel so much better. He was saying that your terribleness at dancing sure gave me a lot of hope. And I'm like, happy to help. And so that night I went home and I'm like, I know all these things about mindset and business goals and all these things, and I'm not using any of them. I just think I'm a bad dancer, so I am. And so I started doing mental rehearsal. I started saying, okay, what would it look like? What would it feel like? How would it be if I was a good dancer? And so I started tapping into my imagination and literally mentally rehearsing for a couple minutes a night, seeing myself as a good dancer. What would that feel like? What would that look like? What would people say to me? And I started just stepping into that. And what happened is I went back to the dance floor or back to the dance studio. Still made tons of mistakes, but I just didn't dwell on them. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm an idiot," or "Oh, I'm terrible." I did two things different. I kept the same two classes a week, didn't change it, didn't go to three, and I stopped beating myself up. And I did mental rehearsal every night. 6 months later, my wife and we come in first place in two different dances at an international competition in Miami in our division. And the instructor said to me, they're like, "Ray, no offense, but you weren't getting any better. But then one day you started getting really good really fast. And that must have been when you started practicing more." Not really. Two classes a week. That's what I stayed with the whole time. But the difference is I was mentally rehearsing being a good dancer and spending more time with that future version of myself than my current reality. And when I did that, all of a sudden things started to shift within me to accept that reality until I was that reality. And all of a sudden I'm getting different compliments from people. And we come in that first place. It was very, very amazing. And I found that that's true of all business. It's true of any goal. If you start mentally rehearsing who you actually want to be and you spend more time there than noticing what's wrong and noticing the problems and noticing where you're struggling or the things that you don't like, then all of a sudden you will start to shift.
Yes. And before I met you in your mastermind, I was writing it out, but I was missing the imagination part. So I would just write it and be like, okay, well, I'm writing my stuff, but you need to actually write now that like what's going to happen in your life when you're in there and the things you're going to do and what you're going to look like. Like you can think that right now, if you're going on a trip to Florida, you can envision, you're going to go to the airport, you have to do this. Like that's what you should be doing when you have it with a goal for your business, signing up 5 new people. So I can't thank you enough because I love your mastermind. How can people get a hold of you in that group that I'm in it's like you do free challenges. Like you literally make me crack up. Like the way he speaks, you guys, this is him. The situations that he literally does are just so true because I see it. You're like, oh, I'm going to send this person a message. It's like really, because it's comical and it makes it fun and it makes you remember it. So you really, really do stick out so much, differently than other leaders do. So we're very grateful for you. So let people know how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. I mean, probably the easiest is, if you prefer Instagram, it's just at Ray Higdon. I do videos every single day. And then, facebook.com/Ray Higdon page is another major one of ours. But yeah, we do a lot of videos. I do 6 days a week, walk in faith videos. 9 months ago, I gave my life to Christ and that, really changed me. And I teach, how does the Bible play into building a business? And there's just, we provide a lot of value there and help a lot of people with that too.
Yeah. And Ray, for being in the industry, so how long as a whole have you been in the industry? I don't want to quote myself and be wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first company I ever joined was 2006. But I really got serious about network marketing in 2019. Okay. Or I'm sorry, 2009.
Okay. So a long time. And
14 years. Yeah.
And I just watched one of your, or heard that you had one of your most profitable months which I find very inspiring. Yeah. Not because of the financial part, but because of the impact by you showing up every single day and adding value to this world. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize what we're doing. Like right now, Ray, you could be doing a million things. You are you're a dad, you're an amazing husband. You're so involved with your kids and you're adding value to people's lives. So the fact that you did have one of your most profitable months, congratulations to you. And second of all, that just goes to show how much you and Jessica really are making truly such a positive impact in this world. And honestly, we need more of that. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Congratulations again. So is there anything you really want to leave? You want to close this out with?
I would just say, I would just highly encourage you. I believe it's in the comments. But if you know that you need to shift and you are struggling with either your purpose, or you need new strategies, or you just need a caffeine injection of hope and inspiration, then I would say get to our event. And if you just can't, I got it. Get the virtual ticket, and it's going to be amazing. We will serve you very, very well. It's a 3-day event, and Faith Over Fear Business Summit, and we'd love to see you.
And your cup, you will be left with your cup 100%
Very
so
much.
full and completely energized. And again, you guys, in the comment section, there are limited tickets, so make sure you head over there. Ray, I cannot thank you enough. It was such an
Yay.
honor this was one of my dreams. So obviously I'm doing
Oh,
something right. So
yeah.
I'm doing something right. I'm going to continue praying. I'm going to continue doing all the
Thank you.
things and follow you. You lead such a great example, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Bye.
Right.